Inside was a folded letter, aged but carefully preserved, and a small brass key. Nothing else. Grace picked up the letter with trembling fingers. "It's addressed to me," she said quietly. "Read it aloud," Lucas demanded. She did. Her voice shook at first, but steadied as she went on. "To Grace, you were never part of the wealth I built, but you carry the part of me that was capable of forgiveness. Inside this box, you will find the key to a drawer in my study. In it lies the truth about how this fortune was made, and the reason I could never face it in life. Use it as you see fit. What you do next will determine not what you inherit, but what you become." The words hung in the air like smoke. Ethan's smirk vanished entirely. Olivia covered her mouth with her hand. Lucas's expression turned unreadable. I spoke carefully. "Grace, do you know which drawer he refers to?" She nodded slowly. "I think I do." Lucas stood abruptly. "No. Whatever's in there, he's manipulating us even after death. We should destroy it." Grace turned to him, her voice calm but edged. "Afraid of what he left behind?" His jaw clenched. "I'm afraid of lies being turned into truth." Ethan laughed dryly. "Sounds like the definition of a will reading to me." Grace stepped toward the door. "I'm going to the study." I stood as well. "Then I'll accompany you. The rest of you may follow if you wish." They did. No one wanted to be left behind now. The hallway stretched long and dim, lined with portraits that watched silently as we passed. The rain outside deepened into a steady drumbeat. When we reached the study, Grace went straight to the mahogany desk, a massive carved piece that seemed to anchor the entire room. She slid the brass key into a drawer on the right side. It turned smoothly. Inside lay a stack of yellowed papers, an old photograph, and a single document with the Crawford Company seal. Grace picked it up, eyes scanning the faded ink. Then she froze. "What is it?" Olivia asked. Her voice cracked. "It's evidence." Lucas stepped closer. "Of what?" Grace's eyes lifted to him. "Of fraud. And bribery. Half of this fortune was built on falsified contracts. Your father's deals with companies he later sued to ruin." Ethan let out a low whistle. So the great Elias Crawford wasn't just a businessman after all. I took the document gently from her hand, scanning it. The signatures were genuine. The evidence was undeniable. It was a confession, one meant to be found after death. Grace whispered, "He wanted someone to know, someone who wouldn't bury it." Olivia looked at her, tears forming. "And that's why he chose you." Grace nodded faintly. "He knew I'd tell the truth, even if it cost everything." Lucas's face hardened, his control finally cracking. "You think I'll let you destroy this family's name?" She met his glare. "It's already destroyed, Lucas. I'm just not pretending anymore." I stepped forward quietly. "The will grants her discretion. Whatever she decides will stand." Lucas turned toward me. "You can't allow this." "I don't have to," I said. "Your father already did." Silence filled the study. Thick, electric, final. Rain hammered the windows. Grace placed the papers carefully back into the drawer, locking it once more. She looked up. "Tomorrow, I'll take these to the authorities." Olivia nodded slowly. Ethan gave a low sigh, rubbing the back of his neck. Lucas said nothing, his eyes fixed on the box, still in my hands, as though trying to will it to undo what it had done. As we left the study, I glanced one last time at the box on the desk. It looked smaller now, lighter somehow. But I knew better. The weight of truth never disappears. It simply shifts from one pair of hands to another. And as executor, I'd just watched that burden pass into Grace Benton's keeping. I returned to the Crawford estate the next morning under a different sky. The storm had passed, leaving the air washed clean, the gardens glistening with dew. Yet inside me, the heaviness remained. That quiet awareness that something irreversible had begun the moment Grace opened that box. When I entered the house, the family was already gathered in the drawing room. No one spoke at first. The usual air of performance that surrounded wealthy families, polite smiles hiding sharp edges, was gone. The silence that filled the Crawford home now was real, heavy, and human. Grace stood by the fireplace, her hands clasped before her. Olivia sat near the window, staring out toward the lawn where their father used to take morning walks. Ethan lounged against a cabinet, though the easy arrogance was gone from his face. Lucas was at the far end of the room, arms crossed, eyes hard. I set my briefcase down gently. "Before we begin," I said, "I should tell you the court clerk has confirmed the will's authenticity. Any amendment or challenge will have to go through probate." Lucas didn't even look at me. "She's planning to ruin us." I returned to the Crawford estate the next morning under a different sky. The storm had passed, leaving the air washed clean, the gardens glistening with dew. Yet inside me, the heaviness remained. That quiet awareness that something irreversible had begun the moment Grace opened that box. When I entered the house, the family was already gathered in the drawing room. No one spoke at first. The usual air of performance that surrounded wealthy families, polite smiles hiding sharp edges, was gone. The silence that filled the Crawford home now was real, heavy, and human. Grace stood by the fireplace, her hands clasped before her. Olivia sat near the window, staring out toward the lawn where their father used to take morning walks. Ethan lounged against a cabinet, though the easy arrogance was gone from his face. Lucas was at the far end of the room, arms crossed, eyes hard. I set my briefcase down, gently. "Before we begin," I said, "I should tell you the court clerk has confirmed the will's authenticity. Any amendment or challenge will have to go through probate." Lucas didn't even look at me. "She's planning to ruin us." Grace spoke quietly. "I'm not planning to ruin anyone. I'm planning to tell the truth." He turned sharply toward her. "That's the same thing." Their voices echoed faintly through the hall. I'd seen dozens of families fracture over money, but rarely did I see one torn apart by morality. That was what made this story different. It wasn't greed that was breaking them. It was conscience. Olivia spoke softly, almost pleading. "Can't there be another way, Grace? Father's gone. The damage is done." Grace shook her head. "That's what he did, Olivia. Covered damage with silence. I can't do the same." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "So what happens when the world finds out that our father built half this town's industries on fraud? You think people won't come after us, too?" Grace met his gaze. "Maybe they should." For a moment, no one moved. I felt the weight of their fear pressing through the room. Families like this didn't survive scandal. They thrived on image, on carefully curated appearances. But truth didn't care about image. It had its own kind of gravity. I broke the silence gently. "Ms. Benton," I said, "the law doesn't compel you to disclose these documents. Your grandfather's estate remains yours to manage, regardless of public exposure." She looked at me, her voice steady. "But it would haunt me if I didn't." He left that choice for a reason. Lucas exhaled sharply. "You think this is noble? You're destroying everything he built." Grace's tone softened. "He destroyed it himself, Lucas. I'm just finishing what he started." He stepped closer, his voice low but trembling. "Do you have any idea what this will do to us? To me? To Mother's memory?" Something flickered in Grace's eyes. "Your mother's memory is the only thing that should survive this. She believed in decency. The rest—" She stopped herself, shaking her head. "The rest isn't worth protecting." I could see Lucas's restraint unraveling. The veneer of control that held him together since yesterday began to crack. "You're not a Crawford," he said coldly. "You don't get to make that call." Grace took a breath. No, I'm not. Maybe that's why I can see clearly. Before I could intervene, Lucas's hand slammed down on the desk beside the box. You think you're better than us? The sound startled everyone. Olivia gasped softly. Ethan muttered, Lucas, enough. I moved forward calmly. Mr. Crawford? But he wasn't listening. He turned on Grace again, voice shaking. You walk in here, open one box, and suddenly you're the judge of our entire family. Grace didn't flinch. I didn't judge him. He judged himself. I'm just reading his verdict. For a long moment, they stared at each other, brother and niece, mirror reflections of anger and sorrow separated by a single moral divide. Then Lucas's shoulders dropped. His voice cracked when he spoke again. He made me protect him, Grace. All those years, the lawsuits, the public stories, I knew. I helped him hide it, because he said it was for us, for the family, for legacy. Grace's expression softened. And you believed him. He nodded once. He was my father. It was Olivia who broke the silence this time, her voice breaking. We all believed him. Ethan looked away, muttering, Guess we all inherited something after all. His secrets. I let the quiet settle again. Sometimes silence is the only honest language left in a room full of lies. After a long pause, Grace spoke. I'll take the papers to the authorities this afternoon, but I'll make sure none of you are implicated. The evidence ties only to his actions. You deserve the chance to rebuild, to live without his shadow. Lucas blinked, stunned. You'd do that? She nodded. Because that's what he couldn't do. Let go. I saw it then. The real inheritance wasn't money or property. It was guilt, and Grace was the only one brave enough to break the cycle. Later that day, as I sat across from her in my office, I watched her place the sealed envelope on my desk, the one containing the evidence. The same box that started all of this rested beside it, empty now, but not meaningless. She looked tired, but not defeated. Do you think I'm doing the right thing, Mr. Mercer? I considered my answer carefully. The right thing, I said, is rarely the easy thing. But I think your grandfather wanted you to do exactly this, to choose truth over comfort. She smiled faintly. He always said legacy means nothing if it can't stand in daylight. That's a good line, I said quietly. Maybe you should keep it. She rose, adjusted her coat, and looked toward the window. The sunlight had broken through the clouds, streaking gold across the city's rooftops. For the first time since we'd met, she looked at peace. As she turned to leave, she paused. Mr. Mercer? Yes? Do you think he knew I'd be the one to find the truth? I hesitated. I think he knew you'd be the only one who wouldn't run from it. She nodded once and walked out, leaving the office door slightly ajar behind her. 2 weeks passed. The papers were submitted. The truth made its way into public record. The story spread quickly. A respected tycoon's legacy exposed, a family's fortune tainted. The Crawfords withdrew from public life. The estate went quiet. And yet, something in that silence felt almost clean, like the house itself had been holding its breath for years, waiting to exhale. When I visited again to finalize the estate closure, Olivia met me at the door. She looked tired, but lighter somehow. Grace moved out last week, she said. She's different now. Free. I nodded. And Lucas? Olivia's eyes dimmed slightly. He's gone abroad. Said he needed distance. I think he's trying to forgive himself. I stepped inside. The study still smelled faintly of old wood and rain, the same room where truth had been unboxed. The mystery box sat again on the desk, polished, its brass latch gleaming. Olivia noticed my glance. Grace asked me to keep it, she said. She said it should stay here, as a reminder. I smiled faintly. A reminder that sometimes what's left behind isn't wealth, but wisdom. Olivia's lips curved into a small smile. She said you'd say something like that. We shared a quiet moment. Then I placed my final papers on the desk and took one last look around. The portraits seemed softer now, less judgmental somehow. Or maybe I was just seeing them differently, not as symbols of power, but as warnings. Before leaving, I opened the box one final time. Empty, yes. But inside, I found a folded scrap of paper tucked beneath the lining. A note, in Elias Crawford's handwriting. The truth belongs to whoever is brave enough to face it. I closed the box carefully and set it back in place. That's when I realized something. This story had never really been about inheritance at all. It was about redemption, about the one person in every family willing to stop pretending the past was noble just because it was buried. As I stepped outside, sunlight filtered through the oaks. The wind carried the faint scent of rain and something else. Peace, perhaps. The kind that only comes after confession. And as I drove away from the Crawford estate for the last time, I knew that somewhere out there, Grace Benton was finally free. Not because she inherited her grandfather's estate, but because she refused to inherit his sins.
Thank you for watching this story until the end. If you found it meaningful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue bringing powerful, real stories from around the world.